Good evening. Welcome to the Press Box. I'm Vanessa Johnson, and for the next 30 minutes, I'll be your host. With me are Kenny Sharp from Dirty Owls and Jay Marcks. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
That's great.
Real good.
Okay, before we get started, I'd like to remind our audience that this is a live show. So if you have any questions, give us a call at 873-6713. Okay, guys, let's talk about the Atlanta Knights. They're getting a new coach, aren't they?
Yes, they are. I think Gene Ubriaco got called up to the parent club, Tampa Bay, as the head of scouting, and they hired John Paris today. They were going to go with an interim coach, but I think they decided to go ahead and make Paris a permanent coach. He was going to coach the Fire Ants, sort of a rollerblade spinoff of the Knights, but they moved him up right now to the IHL, and he's the first black coach in the IHL.
So how is Paris going to fare up?
Well, you know, I think that the paper said that Medill would run the offensive lines and Rochefort would run the defensive lines to keep some of the decision-making process away from him, or deflected away from him, because, you know, coming in, down the stretch run like that, that's kind of hard for a new coach, and that should help him. As far as actual coaching, I think they'll miss Ubriaco most at the very end of a game where his expertise on the bench will be sorely missed. I think Paris hasn't been behind the bench, and he'll have to rely on suggestions from players. And because Kenny plays hockey, he knows you never rely on suggestions from players because they'll all say, "Let me do it, I can do it."
They all want to be out there at the end of the game anyway.
Yeah.
What do you think about Paris?
Well, I don't think this is going to affect the Knights all that much. The team has been, the nucleus of the team has been together mostly all year. A lot of teams in the International League have problems where the parent club will call up a lot of players. That hasn't happened too much to the Knights this year, with the exception of maybe La Puma. Also, Rochefort is a veteran of the NHL. He was in the NHL for a long time. Now he's back with the Knights. Medill's been in the IHL for, however, he's 30-something years old. Those are experienced guys. I don't think the coaching change will really affect the Knights all that much.
Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling in on the air.
Yes, where's Ty tonight?
He's in Florida.
He's in Florida.
He's at West Palm Beach, scoping out the
Can you
Braves.
guys settle a bet for me?
What
Is that a real football helmet in front of you guys?
No, it's a phone. Yes, it is. It's a real football helmet.
I say that it is. My buddy says that it isn't.
It's a red Packer helmet.
Can you guys put it on?
No, we can't.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks. Enjoy the show.
Sure.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks.
Okay, the Knights have an interesting schedule coming up. On Saturday, they will be playing the Las Vegas, I'm sorry. Saturday, we'll play Las Vegas at 7:30 on Channel 69. And Sunday, they'll play at 5 p.m., but it won't be on TV. All games are on 680 radio anyway, so you'll get a chance to check into that. Let's talk about college basketball. We have an interesting week coming up, right?
All right. The tournaments, conference tournaments are starting. I think the SEC tournament starts Thursday.
Exactly.
And the ACC tournament starts Friday. However, they have a preliminary game on Thursday to see
That's a biggie.
The odd team out, I guess. And thank God Tech didn't have to play in that.
Exactly. That defeat against Clemson kind of weighed that out.
Yeah. So I think as far as the tournaments go, you got to like Kentucky and Arkansas. I'll probably be there at the end. In the ACC, let's see, who won it last year?
Tech.
Yeah.
Of course.
So I think I'm going to pick Tech again.
Yeah, right.
They're definitely due for some good games.
Right.
You were here when I predicted they'd sweep North Carolina.
Right. I believe if they have to play North Carolina again, they'll beat them.
Yeah, they do, if they get past Wake Forest. Here's the thing. Either team, either Wake Forest or Georgia Tech will beat North Carolina because of the matchup at the guard play. So whoever advances past that game, North Carolina better look out.
What do you think, Ken?
Well, it's been a wide open year in college basketball where there's been a lot of upsets. Carolina has 6 losses. Duke has 4 losses. So these teams can be beaten. There's a lot of teams, there's a couple teams in the ACC anyway, they're going to have to do well in the tournament, in the ACC tournament, to get in the NCAA tournament. There's a lot of motivation here for Tech, who could be on the bubble. Florida State needs to win the tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. And it should make for some real interesting play in the ACC tournament. It's going to be wide open, I think.
I agree.
Me too.
Okay. Moving on to the NBA, what about these top 4 teams in the Western Conference?
Well, I think the top 4, you have to look at Seattle. You have to look at Houston, although Houston has leveled off since the All-Star break. They've kind of been middling at about 500.
Right.
and the other two teams would be Phoenix and Utah. Now, these playoffs in the West are going to be wild. I think Portland and Golden State both, if healthy, can be factors and knock off one of these top four teams. The NBA playoffs, while it's still a while away, I really like Phoenix in the West. I think if they get Richard Dumas back, who was out from the drug suspension, he's supposed to be activated soon. This guy can score. If Phoenix, gets their act together the last 3 weeks of the season, I look for them to win the West, come out of the West again this year.
Okay. What do you think, Jay?
I think that San Antonio will probably be one of the better teams. I don't know if they're a top four team, but if with David Robinson, you can't help but think that if they just dump it down to him and let him decide whether to shoot or dish it off, they should be in good hands. And Utah, I mean, they've just been going crazy since they got Hornacek. Yeah. He's been a welcome addition. Now they have a tremendous amount of pressure in the backcourt. They can nullify the backcourt advantage that Phoenix would have with KJ and people like that. Right. So I don't know. I think the West is going to be, as far as the top four teams in the Western Conference, I don't know. Teams are jockeying for position right now, and that's what's going to be important, I think, with the NBA playoffs coming up is which four teams finish in the top four so that they have home court
advantage. Because
a team like a Utah or San Antonio or even Houston, if they finish fifth, they might get eliminated because they're not going to have they won't have enough home games. Okay, whereas a team, just those teams we mentioned, they'll probably win it if they have if they have the home court advantage. Whereas Phoenix, Kenny's choice, that's a good choice because they have one of the best road records in the NBA, exactly. And so it doesn't matter to them whether they finish first or fifth. So a team that plays like that usually does better. Then they'll finish in the top four. Then they'll have their home games, and they'll win their road games. So as far as the Western Conference goes, it's wide open. But the teams Kenny mentioned, plus the San Antonio, I think they're going to be there. Portland's putting on a run right now, but they're just too weak. They're too thin on the bench, and they'll fall off at the end.
Well, I forgot about San Antonio, but my main argument with them is their point guard play. They've got Vinny Del Negro starting at point guard now. They gave up Avery Johnson and just let him go as a free agent. I think he could have helped their team right now. They're winning now, but you have to look at the fact that there are so many rotten teams in the NBA. I was looking at it, there's 10 teams that are at least 15 games under 500. All you have to do really is beat these teams and play a little bit over 500 against the real good teams, and you got a good shot to land a good position in the playoffs as far as being one of the top four teams in the West or the East and getting the home court advantage for the first round at least.
That's right. Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, guys. Y'all skipped over the Bulldogs. I was just curious what you thought. You think they're going to make a run in the SEC tournament and try to save Hugh's job?
Let me see. There's a good reason why we skipped over the Bulldogs. I think they play LSU in the first round, and that'll be their last game of the year.
I don't like that prediction now.
Oh, I don't agree with that prediction myself. I think LSU is an eminently beatable team. I think they can beat them. I think that's where the season stops for Georgia, though.
I think Georgia beat LSU over there this year, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. LSU is really, since they blew that 31-point lead against Kentucky, they have not come close. They've been blown out by everybody they played. I think this is a team that was destroyed when they gave up that 31-point lead to Kentucky mentally, psychologically. I think that really ended LSU's season, that one game. I think Georgia can handle LSU. It's the next round after that that's going to be the tough one for Georgia.
Right, because they play Arkansas if they beat LSU.
Well, that'll be the end of their season. They'll get beat by 20 and make about 25, 30 turnovers if they play Arkansas, just like they did at home.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think that the caller made a good point about playing for Hugh's job. I don't know if they want to do that. I don't know if the players are happy with the coaching over there. I know a lot of the alumni aren't. And in that situation, I think the Falcons showed that at the end of the year when everybody said, hey, we need to play this for Jerry's job. Yeah. And they all laid down and lost. It's like, so if you bring that up, say, hey, maybe they need to play good against LSU, so save Hugh's job. They may fold it up and say, we don't want that guy around here anymore.
Well, I think Vince Dooley extended the old vote of confidence for Hugh Durham last week. He said he will be back next season. And I think he said this from West Palm Beach as he was watching Georgia play the Braves. So he's really into the basketball scene, Vince Dooley. But I don't know that they have to win a game to get – they might have to beat LSU to save Hugh's job, but I think if they do that, you will be back next season, for better or worse.
Okay, I agree. Okay, getting back to the NBA, we were talking about the top four teams in the West. What about the East?
Ooh, go ahead.
I think the Hawks are the best team in the East right now. And it's easy to say sitting here in Atlanta, but I think Manning, they moved the ball so much better with Manning than they did with Dominique, and people around town are saying, well, he's been here for so long and the Hawks weren't loyal to him. I think the Hawks looked at it as a fact that they have a chance to win now, and Danny Manning gives them a better chance to win now than Dominique would. Right now, the Bulls are really struggling. The Knicks can't score. If you stop Ewing, you can stop the Knicks. And Cleveland's on a roll, but their players are injured. Brad Daugherty is questionable for the rest of the season with a bad back. I think the Hawks are sitting pretty right now. If they get the home court advantage in the East, they can go to the finals.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good analysis. I think that the Hawks will have to deal with this newfound fame. All of a sudden now, after we're about 3/4 of the way through the season, the major media has always had the Knicks as the darling of the East. It's just like, look, the Knicks, now that Michael Jordan's gone, the Knicks have got a clear road. And now all of a sudden they're all hopping off the Knicks saying, hey, the Hawks are a team to beat. The Hawks are a team to beat. So we'll have to see how the Hawks handle that mentally, okay? I think physically they have the best team in the East. Whether they can handle the pressure of being the best team in the East, we'll see. I mean, this stretch right here, tonight they play the Bulls in Chicago, which are fading, like Kenny said, and the Knicks tomorrow night at home, which is kind of hard because they're going to run out of gas about halfway through that fourth quarter, and they're going to have to rely on good coaching and team defense if they're going to beat the Knicks, because they won't have any legs at the end of that game. And that will be billed as a playoff preview and all. But I think that for what Kenny said about Cleveland, that's what makes them dangerous, is they're on a roll. They're the hottest team in the Eastern Conference. They're just climbing right through the standings, and their players are hurt, okay? So if they were to get some of their players back, even one or two of their big men, then they're going to be even more hard or more difficult to beat. So that's the team you got to watch out for. And Indiana, too, I don't think they're one of the top 4 teams in the East. But you don't want to draw Indiana in the playoffs.
Well, especially the Hawks, because they give the Hawks fits.
Yeah, well, they have that inside-outside game, and they slow the game down. They dump it inside to Smits, and they dump it back outside to Miller. And the Hawks just don't know how to handle that. They just don't match up that well.
Sorry. The thing I like about the Hawks now is that they've played 2 close games since they've gotten Manning, and they've won them both. And when they had Dominique, we talked about this a few weeks on the show, was they were really struggling in the close games. They're blowing teams out, but in a close game, they would give it away at the end. Manning's won 2 games with shots in the end of the games already in close games, and that really bodes well for the Hawks.
I mean, I think he's doing really good because he's averaging like 17.5 points a game, and that's only a point below his season average.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's not the advantage to having Manning, though. It's like, is a scoring, he's going to score, okay?
Right.
The advantage is that he's going to average, 3 blocks and maybe 5-6 assists more than Wilkins a night, okay?
Yeah.
So, and at the end of the game, what Kenny was saying is true. They struggled with Wilkins because he demanded the ball. And the players that have been here all this time thought, well, we need to get Dominique the ball, okay? Well, now they design a play, and the play is to hit the open man. So it doesn't matter who it is. So they pass the ball around, hit the open man, bang, you win the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if they double Manning, he is going to find the open man because he's an excellent passer. His first game with the Hawks, he only played 25 minutes. He had more assists in that game than Dominique had had in any game all year.
Right.
The team really moves the ball well when he's in there.
Exactly. We have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, I was just wondering, do you think that Danny Manning is better looking than Dominique? Serious. I think he is, personally.
Okay, well, Vanessa will have to answer that question because I think they both look like guys,
Yeah, well, they are. They both are guys. That's the truth of the matter. But Dominique is a little less of a guy because, Manning is a team player. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think Danny Manning is a much better looking player.
There we go. All right, right now, better looking, better player. Better
Exactly.
Go, girl.
Thanks for the call.
You guys have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
What was that, our Babe line?
It was a woman thing.
Well, I think Manning is a better dresser, too. I mean, I've seen him in a coat and tie a couple times, and Dominique used to wear these flashy sports shirts, so and maybe a gangster suit every now and then.
Hey.
Okay. Okay, you guys mentioned earlier that Chicago was fading. What's wrong with this team? Is it because Michael Jordan is gone? Is that really the answer?
I don't know. There's some dissension there. Now, Scottie Pippen he is the main man on the Chicago team now, and there's a lot of pressure involved with that. He's replacing Jordan as the main man on Chicago's team. When Jordan was there, he was able to freelance pretty much not unnoticed by the other team, but the other team had to concentrate on Jordan, obviously, because he was obviously the best player in the league. Right. Pippen was the second best player on Chicago, therefore he got a lot more open shots. The pressure of this being the main man for Chicago is starting to catch up with Pippen. He's criticizing Tony Kukoc. who is the guy that the Bulls signed from Croatia. He's criticizing the Chicago fans because he's saying they won't boo white players, but they boo black players. Now, this is causing a lot of trouble with Chicago, I think. I think there's some dissension there. Kukoc's confidence is shot because Pippen's been picking on him in the press. I don't think Chicago is going to be a real factor in the playoffs if this continues. There's going to have to be a winning streak by Chicago and some harmony in the locker room before they make a run.
Okay. We have a phone call. Thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
That last question was kind of just stupid. First of all, Dominique has a face like a pancake, okay? He is not the man with his Jerry curls. Second of all, I am glad that Atlanta finally got rid of Dominique because now, like the man said, the team can move forward and we can have a Atlanta Hawks team and not an Atlanta Dominique team. So I agree with the brother over there, you right there, and the other girl needs your life. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks for the call. Okay, I want to comment about Pippen. I think that he has the leadership role now, but he hasn't stepped up to be a leader.
I don't think he's reacted real well to that role.
What do you think, Jim?
Well, let me comment on the Bulls. First of all, their offense has been the same for 4 years now, okay? And last year, you saw teams figure them out, okay? And then Michael Jordan won it at the end, okay? Well, see, what's happening now is they still got a great defensive team. But offensively, they're easily figured out. Every team in the league knows what they're going to do, and they don't have the marquee player to step forward. I mean, Pippen may be a good player, but he's no Michael Jordan, okay?
Right.
And so they need a new offensive scheme if they're going to compete on a higher level, okay? And I don't think Coach Jackson is going to change things right now. I think that he tried different combinations, okay, but he never changed his offensive scheme. And what's happening right now, along with the dissension Kenny mentioned, is that every team in the league can defense them. If you notice, they never score 100 points anymore, okay? And they probably won't because they're not going to change their offense for the players they have. And until they get Michael Jordan out of Sarasota, Florida, they're not going to be a factor, I don't think, in the Eastern Conference playoffs. You know, I think the Hawks will probably beat them soundly tonight, and you'll see that the Hawks will hold them to 86, 88 points, something like that, because they can figure out where the ball's going to go before it goes there.
Their supporting cast is starting to be exposed a little bit.
They put Paxson, I maybe should
Paxson got put on the injured list today.
Yeah, so he won't be playing tonight or for the next 2 weeks.
Right.
And they signed some country western singer, JoJo English.
JoJo English.
Yeah, isn't he a country western singer?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, this is a team that has Bill.
He should be.
He should be.
Yeah,
I've seen him play. Anyway, they got Bill Wennington playing a bulk of minutes at center. That's a definite sign of weakness right there for the Bulls. I mean, this guy is a stiff, and I just think the Bulls supporting cast is weak. Pippen's starting to fall apart. I don't really like the Bulls team at this point.
One team that we failed to mention in the top four of the East is, and they're in that position now, but I think they won't be, is Orlando. Okay, they got the TV rap star and movie star on their team, and I think that might be the reason why he doesn't perform every night, is he's into his image rather than how he's playing each game in and game out, you know?
Yeah, well, I saw in the paper where they were asking him to work on his free throws. He's made like 34 of his last 90 free throws or some crazy thing. And the nerve of Orlando to ask this guy to work on his free throw shooting, and he decided that he didn't need to.
Well, it cuts into his video time.
It cuts into the rap time with Fushnikins.
Yeah, or whoever.
So.
Okay, we do have some interesting things coming up in basketball in general. Like for college basketball, as we mentioned earlier, we have the SEC tournament, Georgia versus LSU Thursday at 3 p.m., and that will be shown on Channel 69. Then we have the ACC tournament, which starts Friday, with Georgia Tech versus Wake Forest at 9:30 p.m., and this game will be shown at NBC and ESPN. Then we have the Hawks, who play New York at Atlanta Wednesday at 7:35, and this game will be shown on TBS. Then they'll play Chicago at Atlanta Friday, 7:35 on TBS, and Atlanta at Detroit Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Okay, I think we have a phone call. Thank you for calling. Caller, you're on the air.
Yes. Just got to talk about the Hawks and Chicago run away tonight.
Yes.
It's just like a cartoon right now between Hawks and Chicago. I wish you could see it. And as far as grab a gold on his neck, but hey, he's doing his thing also. So, you know, don't down, try to help him. I'm with Orlando all the way. So, you know, don't down, you know, give him a little goodbye.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to comment.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks for the call. I don't think we were exactly downing him, but...
Well, not really. I don't think we were downing him. I think this guy could be the best center of all time. All he's got to do is, you know, is get into the game and apply himself, work on some things. The guy doesn't really have a move per se around the basket. He's just a huge guy who overpowers the other players. Now, this guy's going to go to the foul line 10 times a game throughout his NBA career. I don't think it's asking too much to teach this guy to shoot 70% of his free throws. He's shooting 50 right now. Right. He's costing himself a lot of points. He's costing his team a lot of points. A smart coach who has 3 centers can use 18 fouls on this guy, and you're going to get about half the points you normally get.
Well, I was getting down on him because how many videos and rap songs did Bill Russell do, okay? And how many championships did he win? All right, there's the analogy right there. I just think that, like if he was to take time to work on his free throw shooting, or how about a 5 or 6 foot jump shot? What would that do to his game? Yeah. All he can do is dunk. They showed in the All-Star game if you double down, triple team him, he can't dunk the ball. He's ineffective. In fact, he can't even score unless he dunks. Yeah. So there's a professional basketball player that needs to work on basketball, okay? That's what I was getting at, you know. I mean, the guy is probably a great person and whatever, and a multimedia star, okay? But as far as pro basketball goes, he's probably not going to win the NBA championship until he stays after practice and works on a jump shot, and then stays after and works on free throws, stuff like that. That's what he needs to do.
Okay, we have a phone call. Thank you for calling you on the air.
Yes, I was wanting to talk about the Braves. Did you guys see the results between the race between David Justice and Fred McGriff?
Yes.
Yeah. Who do you guys think would win in a race between Bobby Cox and Bill Clinton?
And Bill who?
Bill Clinton. You know, he's president.
Bill Clinton.
Oh. Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton.
Okay, well, Clinton runs for a living, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he does.
He
may
runs
have
for
the
office.
edge up on him. Plus, I don't think Bobby has real knees.
Yeah, Bobby's got plastic knees.
I'm not worried.
So, I don't.
Thanks for the call.
Yeah. What happened in that race? I heard there was
McGriff won.
I heard there was a car bet on that or something.
Nah, it was just small money around the Braves clubhouse.
Yeah.
I think Bobby Cox could beat Damon Berryhill in a race.
Well, he's not here anymore. He's in Boston, so
Best
they'll miss him. But
Okay.
speaking of
So
the Braves, yeah.
Who's in left field?
Who do you want to play left field?
Chipper. Tarasco's hot right now, though.
Well, the problem the Braves have is the fact that the 2 hitters, McGriff and Justice, that are going to either precede or follow this guy in the lineup, are left-handed. So if there's a left-handed pitcher, you can't go with Klesko because he probably hasn't seen any left-handed pitching. Tarasco is probably the best athlete, but he's also a left-handed hitter, okay? And people forget that. He's a left-handed batter. Okay, he can hit left-handed pitching a little bit better than Klesko, so he probably has his leg up. As far as Chipper Jones, it almost looks like they have to have him to bat against a left-handed pitcher. Mm-hmm. Now, you look at the staffs around the NL, who has all the left-handed pitching? The Braves do. So that might not come into play because Mulholland got shipped off to New York in the American League, so they won't have to face him 4 or 5 times a year. There'll be some other lefties. I don't recall on Montreal staff if they have one. I think their 5th starter was a lefty.
A young lefty.
Yeah, but see, that won't come into play. So the Braves are right now, I think they're going to go with all 3. I really think that if one of these guys emerges and they hand him the job, then they'll trade Ron Gant before he rehabilitates his leg.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to give up anything for Ron Gant right now, aside from a minor leaguer, because of the fact that the Braves would like to dump that contract, and I think everybody in baseball knows it. So I don't think his trade value is anything right now, although if he was healthy, it would be great. But if he was healthy, they wouldn't be looking to trade him. So.
Right, I agree. Any other changes?
And the Braves lineup should be the way it was last year, except for the addition of Lopez, you know. And I think that the pitching staff, I think, is pretty well set. This year, I think we talked about this last year. I don't know if some of our callers remember, but last year when they broke spring training, They went with Marcks, then Smoltz, then Glavin, then Avery. And we said, that's a mistake. When you have two lefties, two righties, you need to split them up. That way platoon players don't get set. When they face a team that's platooning, you don't get set in the lineup, see? So this year, that's what they've already decided. They're going to go with Marcks,
then Glavin.
Then I think Glavin, then Smoltz, and then Avery. I think it's the other way around, though. I think Avery goes first, then Glavin, because I think they said Glavin is going to pitch
the home opener.
Right. But anyway, they're going to go righty-lefty, righty-lefty, which will really screw up platoon teams when they play them.
Well, I agree with that strategy. I don't know how much stock you put in a pitching rotation at the beginning of the season. You pitch in order maybe for however many weeks until the fifth starter starts going, and then, that order would tend to get, different.
Yeah, except they always stay in order. They did last year until somebody got hurt and missed a start, and then they changed it to the lefty-righty. And I think they were a lot more effective. I mean, if you look, the Braves really stunk the first half of the season, and the pitching wasn't that good.
Well, the pitching wasn't all that bad. They had a lot of trouble scoring runs. It was a lot of problem until they got McGriff.
But they have an interesting schedule coming up. Well, as I mentioned, the Braves have an interesting schedule coming up. Atlanta versus New York Mets in Port St. Lucie Wednesday at 7:40 p.m. Then they will go to Los Angeles Thursday at 1:05 p.m., which will be aired on WGST 105.7 FM. Then Atlanta will play Toronto in the Sky Dome Friday at 7:35 p.m. at Sports South and WGST 105.7 FM. Then Saturday 1:05 p.m. Sports South and on WGST at 6:40 a.m. and 105.7 FM. Then Atlanta will face Florida Sunday 1:05 p.m. WGST. I'm so sorry. 6:40 a.m. and 105.7 FM. And Atlanta will go to Montreal Monday at 1:05 p.m. on WGST 105.7 FM. All games in West Palm Beach, unless otherwise noted.
Right.
Okay. I'd like to thank you guys and thank our sponsors, the Atlanta Knights and Dirty Owls on Northside Drive. And we'll see you next week, same time, same channel.